What exactly does a successful sales meeting sound like? And what are the things that we can do to have the best sales meetings possible? But more importantly, what should we not do to have the best meetings possible? Don't worry guys, we're gonna address all those questions right now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Untitled Chapter here, aka the best dressed man in tech sales, don't forget it. And in today's video, what we're gonna do is give you the formula. That's right, specific formula that's repeatable and scalable that you can use on all of your future discovery calls, okay? So we wanna do this because a lot of reps are confused on what exactly can they do to have the best sales meetings possible. So the goal of this video is to give you exactly that, all right? So without further ado, let's get into it. All right guys, so the first thing that we want to do to have the best sales meetings ever is we need to have personalized rapport, okay? What does this mean? Let me break it down for you. So if you join most sales calls, unfortunately what you hear is sales reps will default talk about the weather in the first 2 to 5 minutes. And let me just tell you guys, that makes me so sad because it's just annoying. It's just not valuable. It's just stupid at the end of the day. Stop talking about the weather because you sound like everybody else, you're boring the prospect, and you're kind of sending the message to them that, hey, this is gonna be a boring, uninteresting, kind of vanilla sales call that you've probably heard from 100 other people. So don't talk about the weather, okay? Instead, what we wanna do is bring up personalized rapport, and we can do this in 3 ways. Number 1, we can look at company tenure. Number 2, we can look at employee announcements, or organization announcements, I should say. And number 3, we can look at their personal social media to find something that stands out to us. Now, let me give you an example of all 3 of those. For employee tenure, right? If they've been at the company for 0 to 12 months, the question we can ask them is, hey, saw you recently joined, or you joined the company earlier this year. What exactly about this company made you want to join or leave your previous employer, right? That's the way we can do it around employee tenure. Also, if they've been there for a long time, right? Let's say they've been there for 5+ years, we can ask them, hey, you know, we live in this world where people are jumping from job to job. What's keeping you there, if you don't mind me asking? So that's how we use employee tenure to offer personalized rapport. The second way we can do this is by looking at a company announcement, all right? So did they launch a new product? Did they buy another company? Did they hire a new executive? Is there something else that just got released on the internet about their company? Whatever it might be, but find some kind of relevant business announcement or company announcement and ask them the question of, hey, I just heard about this person getting hired, or you guys just launched this product. Is that going to impact your work or your workload at all, right? And again, the reason why this is successful is because it's all about them. We're not talking about us. We're not talking about stupid things like the weather. We're keeping the attention on them. And guess what everybody's favorite topic is, guys? Themselves. And the third way that we can use personalized rapport is by scanning their social media. So what do I mean? Guys, if you're not looking at the person's LinkedIn before you meet with them, you are really messing up, okay? So make sure you do that. And what you want to do is scan their LinkedIn profile, maybe Twitter, maybe some other social media if you can find it. And you want to find something that just stands out to you, right? Maybe it's their hometown, maybe it's where they went to college, maybe it's what they studied in college, maybe it's a project that they published and it's online, right? If you're talking to someone that has a PhD, research their dissertation paper. Find the things that they've worked on and comment about those on the call, right? The other day I was doing research on somebody before a meeting and I found out they owned a goat farm, right? So guess what I talked about for the first 2 minutes? Their goat farm, all right? So find something about the person that sticks out that can only be said to them, and that's going to make them feel really good because you took the time to research them and you're not just boring them with weather talk, all right? So that's how we do personalized rapport, guys. All right, guys, so once we get the personalized rapport out of the way, what we want to do next is emphasize the purpose of the call, all right? And this is going to inform the prospect of why we're here to talk to them. Why on earth are we on the phone right now? And what are we here to talk about, okay? So you want to ideally have this be a 1 to 2 sentence statement that is not fluffy and is pretty specific, okay? So the one that I use for all of my sales calls is like this. The purpose of today's call is to understand what are the top outcomes that you are being asked to produce in the next 12 months, and can we help you produce those outcomes faster or more cost effective? That's it. Super quick, 2 sentences, not fluffy, and very concise. All right, so keep those things in mind. You can use the purpose that I just shared as well, but you want to make sure you emphasize what is the purpose of the call. Now, a lot of people will tell you at this point to go into some kind of formalized agenda. Honestly, I tend to skip that, and what I do in these calls instead is just offer them 2 options on how we can proceed with the call. And this is exactly what I say. So, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, whatever their name is, I'll say, I think there's two ways we can go about today's call. Number one, if you're open to it, I've actually done a lot of research on your company, and believe it or not, I actually put together a hypothesis of the number one thing that I think you're trying to accomplish in the next 12 months. So, if you're open to it, I'm happy to walk you through that research and actually share the hypothesis, and maybe you can tell us how accurate or inaccurate we are with it. But if you'd rather skip all that and you just want to get to, why you took the call today and get straight to it, we can also do that. Which would you prefer? And guys, I've delivered hundreds of hypotheses at this point. I've only had one person ever tell me, hey, you know what, I'm really in a time crunch. I really just want to get to it. But everybody else has always said, oh my gosh, let me hear the hypothesis. And they're naturally going to gravitate towards the hypothesis for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's very, very differentiated, meaning that 99% of sales reps are not showing up to the call with a hypothesis. They're showing up with a lot of questions, which is really annoying to the prospect, right? Nobody just wants to get drilled with questions left and right. So number one is differentiated, okay? So you're gonna stand out. But number two, it's less work for the prospect, right? They don't have to explain their business to you. They don't have to answer questions. They just get to sit back and hear all the work that you did, right? So naturally, again, most people are gonna go towards the hypothesis. And in my personal experience of 9 years doing this now, I've only had one person decline the hypothesis and decide to get straight to it in terms of what they wanted. But here's the thing, guys. Either way is a win. Because if they're saying, I'll skip the hypothesis, what you can do is hold that in your back pocket, right? You still have the hypothesis in your head. You just don't have to roll it out for them. So you can still keep that in your back pocket and hear out the customer to see, okay, why did you take today's call and what exactly are you trying to accomplish? So in most cases, like I said, they're going to go towards the hypothesis. So what you do when they say proceed, or they give you the green light to go ahead, you're going to do two things, right? And this would be technically your agenda. But the two things that you're going to do is you're going to start, number one, with a business overview, okay? The business overview is really just a short description about their business and, more importantly, how they make money, all right? So if I'm talking to an insurance company, I might say the business overview is like, well, saw you guys were founded in 1964. You guys have 12 branches in the United States and maybe 400 employees. And it looks like the way you guys generate revenue is you sell life insurance, you sell property and casualty insurance, and you guys also do some loans as well. Is that about accurate, or is there any significant revenue generator that I'm missing, right? And you want to let them fill in the gaps to understand if there's anything you missed. But really, guys, the business overview should take 2 to 3 minutes, and it's just a quick rundown of what their business is and how they make money. Once they give you the green light on the business overview, then you can naturally proceed into the hypothesis. And what the hypothesis is going to sound like is, well, based on my research, it's my opinion that you are being asked to do X, Y, and Z. And when I say X, Y, and Z, you should have 3 actual options. So kind of an ABC, but you want to cast a wide net with the hypothesis, because if you just guess one thing, there's a higher likelihood that you're incorrect. Which is not a bad thing, by the way, because if you're incorrect, they're just going to correct you, which is awesome, because you still get the answer, right, about the number one thing you're working on. But we want to try to be as accurate as possible, so for that reason, it's best to have a wide net and give them 3 options in terms of what we think they're trying to do or being asked to do from management. And the way I like to do this is I like to have each hypothesis aligned to some kind of greater outcome. So one hypothesis, or A, might be around revenue generation, right? So what are some things that this person might be getting asked to do to help the company make more money? Maybe the second thing is around mitigating risk. So what might this person be getting asked to do that is going to put the company in a safer position and reduce any risk that they have? And then maybe the third thing is around customer experience, right? How is this person and their team, their department, their business unit being asked to improve the customer experience or do something that enhances the way the customers use their product, right? So those are some guiding points that you can use to form your hypothesis and cast a wider net in terms of the number one thing that you think they're trying to do. Now, after you share the hypothesis, there's only one question that you want to ask. And the question is, how accurate or inaccurate are we with this hypothesis? And then, guys, put yourself on mute if you're on Zoom and shut up. Don't say anything. Literally let them talk and correct you. Let them tell you if you're accurate or inaccurate and why. And just to give you some data points, through Gong, actually, my company uses Gong to record our sales meetings. On average, after I deliver a hypothesis, the prospect tends to talk for 3 to 5 minutes. And there's a lot that they can air out in 3 to 5 minutes, but that's exactly what we want, guys. The hypothesis is effective because it gives them something to think about, gives them something to validate. So instead of handing them kind of an empty tray and we're just asking questions and asking them to fill up this tray with information, we're already giving them a tray full of food and we're asking them, hey, are these the right dishes, right? Are these the dishes you're being asked to prepare, so to speak? And they can just give us the yes or no, right? There's less work that they have to do, so that's why this approach is so effective. All right, guys, so once you've heard the prospect comment on your hypothesis, you probably will ask a couple of follow-up questions based on what they said. Now, I can't give you these specific questions to ask because it's always going to depend on exactly what the prospect said to your hypothesis. But generally what you want to do is kind of further validate what they've said and make sure you get a solid understanding of the number one thing they're being asked to do, and then understand what's hard about it, right? What exactly is stopping them from getting there, or what have they tried already to get there? Okay, and once you're confident that you have the number one thing that they're trying to go for, and maybe you have some kind of challenge associated with that, what you want to do is start to recap the conversation and position next steps. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to next steps, a lot of sales reps mess up because they're too pushy. And what it often looks like and sounds like is, all right, well, hey, sounds like you're dealing with this, and this, and I really think that we can help you. So as a next step, why don't we go ahead and do that? Whoa, chill out. We can't really go too aggressive on next steps and push next steps on the prospect because number one, it's super salesy, okay? It's going to make them feel pressured and it's gonna activate their defenses to be like, whoa, this person's going too fast, I'm not ready for all this. So the better thing to do, guys, when it comes to positioning next steps is you can say something like, so based on today's conversation, I have a couple of ideas, but I'm curious to know what you think we should do for next steps. What do you think we should do for next steps? Or should we have any next steps? And let them talk, right? You want to do this because there might be things that you're not aware of that make them want to delay the next steps, but it doesn't mean they're not interested. For example, what if they said, well, you know, the key person who's going to be involved in leading this is out for the next 2 weeks, so I think we should talk in the next 2 weeks. If you didn't have that context about why they wanted to push it out 2 weeks, you would think that they were flaking on you. You would probably think, oh, they're not that interested. But because now you have that additional context about, oh, they want to bring in this leader, but they're out, so we should wait 2 weeks. Now you're going to be comfortable with that. So you want to let them talk because they're going to give you additional information that you didn't have about the future for their company, all right? So again, make sure before you just blindly propose next steps, you ask them, hey, what do you think our next step should be and why? And let them talk. After that, you can come up with a mutually beneficial next step that makes sense based on what the prospect told you. And there's one thing I want to comment on, guys. You notice how this whole discovery call framework has absolutely nothing to do with your product, your service, or your company. It has everything to do with the prospect, right? We talked about their business in a business overview. We talked about a hypothesis of the number one thing they're trying to do. We haven't even said anything about our company, and that's the key, guys. So many sales reps are thinking that they just need to get in there, pitch their product, educate the prospect on what they do. Don't do that stuff unless they ask for it, okay? There will be times where they ask, hey, can I get a little bit of information about what you guys do? Or how exactly can you guys help with that? Or how have you helped other customers with that? That is your time to speak about your product or service. But until they ask, don't say anything about your product because this call is not about you, okay? It is about the prospect. So keep everything about your prospect. Do not mention anything about your business until the second call, all right? First call is all about them. So there you have it, guys. This is literally the framework that I use to have very, very solid discovery calls. I highly recommend you try it as well. And again, just to recap some of the things at this point so you don't forget, is number one, we want to offer that personalized rapport from the very get-go. Okay, we want to offer personalized rapport because it's going to show them that A, this is a different sales call, right? We're not just starting talking about the weather and being cliche. Number two, we research them, we know a little bit about them, and we're not coming in super uninformed, all right? So that's why I want to do personalized rapport, set off the tone in a good way from the start, and make sure that we know exactly who they are. The second thing we talk about doing is offering a strong purpose for the call, right? We want to have a 1 to 2 sentence statement max that talks about what exactly are we here to accomplish, right? Why are they on the call today? And what can they expect us to actually get to in the meat of the call? Next thing we talked about is how exactly do we discuss the hypothesis in the call? So to recap, what we say is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, there's really 2 ways we can go about this call today. Number one, if you're open to it, I've actually put together some research and I made a hypothesis on the number one thing I think you're being asked to do. So if you're open to it, I'd love to walk you through that research and share with you that hypothesis so maybe you can confirm how accurate or inaccurate we are. Or if that sounds like a waste of time, maybe you can just tell us exactly what you're hoping to get out of today's call. Which would you prefer? Based on their feedback, we want to either proceed with letting them talk or going into the hypothesis. And at that point, we will share the hypothesis, put ourselves on mute, and let them talk and comment on how accurate or inaccurate we are. Last but not least, we want to make sure we pause before ending the call and ask the prospect, hey, based on today's conversation, what next steps do you think we should have, if any at all? And last but not least, guys, we don't want to talk about our product or service unless the prospect asks. So there you guys have it. This is exactly a framework that you guys can use to have really solid discovery meetings that actually enhance the likelihood of getting next steps and generating a favorable first impression with the prospect because you made it all about them. You didn't talk about you at all. You didn't talk about your product, your service, your company. You just made it all about them, and you truly gave value in the sense that you didn't make them work hard. You did all the research up front, and you did the right things to make them feel good about working with you. So whether or not you got a next step, you did your job in terms of bringing value to the marketplace by making a prospect's life easier, by showing them a differentiated approach, and actually getting to know their business a little bit more than the average sales rep. All right, guys, there you have it, a specific framework that you can use to have very successful first-time discovery meetings with your new prospects. The reason, again, why this works is because we're making it all about them, we're being very specific, and we're showing up prepared, doing the research to make it an effective call. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the content today. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below. Also, if you're not doing so already, follow me on LinkedIn. And last but not least, if you're looking for more tips like this on how to become an effective seller and really improve in your role, go ahead and follow us on the B2B Syndicate, see what we got cooking up over there. All right, guys, with that said, I will catch you all in the next video. Take it easy now.